Hello. Blah 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 blah. All right. Hopefully everything is gonna be good. Is everyone gonna behave themselves? Has everyone got water? I got water. I have almost got myself ready. I just need to... Wait, did I post in the right place? Yeah, I posted in the right place there. I posted in the right place there. Here. There. Every which where. You're always behaved? Always. Always behaved. Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day. Cookie for Bookie. Here's your cookie, Bookie. Hi there, Furry Cures. Thank you for coming into the chat first. We got you, Furry Cures. We got Bookie. That's it so far, but that's okay. No, don't make me bald. The point isn't to make me bald. If there's one thing that we're supposed to be doing, like, that's like, you know, good for me's, isn't making me bald or de-himboing me. I have actually fixed a little bit of the extra himbo process. So if any of you were here back on... If any of you were here back on, I think it was Monday when I did it, I introduced like a little like special thingy-madiggy for Macro March. The Hyper Himbo Redeem has the nice cakeage. Thank you. So when you Hyper Himbo me, actually, I'll need to double check something really quick, sorry. When you Hyper Himbo me, what will end up happening is that there will be... Alright, so it does and then it does the action of the extra Himbo Zebra, that does the action of the... Yep, okay, cool, so they're going through the same... So what will end up happening is there will be a redeem available to make me even bigger. Now, how much bigger? About 200% bigger. Once it gets to the end of that... Yeah, there, you'll be I'll be macro. Exactly. Thank you. Right now, this month, I have grown 1.7 meters so far. There is a potential for me to grow more than 1.7 meters within a stream. The idea, because here's the thing, is that like it's an exponential sort of growth. So every time it happens, it's times by 1.1. It's a 10% like interest rate kind of thing, if you think about it. Saw what you were doing earlier. Ah, I see. So yeah, so exclamation point growth will tell you how far I am. I'll come up with better command names for this kind of thing, is for figuring out what my height is currently, which right now, it's just 2.3. Now, one of the things I did, I've wanted to implement this for a while, but I've wanted to cap the actual amount of times you can redeem the extra himbo and the de-himbo. I have it already for the cookie. I'm kind of impressed that no one has hit it. Maybe 100 is, like, you know, too many redeems available for the entirety of chat. But I have so Cake Cam and Himbo Cam, as you know, the channel point redeem increases, like, by 50 points every time it's redeemed. Hyper Himbo and de-himbo, well, I am going to invoke a maximum per stream, which was going to be like 4. So if you were like really pushing, actually no, let's make it 3. Let's make it 3 redeems tops, because like they go off once every half hour. You are able to do the Hyper Himbo sooner than the half-hour mark, but the way it works is that you have to throw me bits if you want me to do that. Actually, you know what? I should probably mention that for Macro March. Cheer 69 for Himbo for Hyper Himbo. So there we go. So yeah, so 69 bits to do the Hyper Himbo, and while it's available as redeem, there's the opportunity to make me bigger and yada yada. Now, I'm glad I got that out of the way real quick. One day I will figure out better incentives for the viewers, because this is a hobby that I can make money off of, and unfortunately, as I get further and further into 2024 and the rent goes up, the electricity goes up, up, like food goes up, I'm gonna have to like look into other ventures and what have you. I know it's terrible. Streamers looking to try and make money off of the thing they do as a hobby. It is what it is, though. I can't really stop myself. So, well, actually, no, that's not true. I can stop myself, but the trick is that if I do that, then I'm needing to figure out like something else to do in the meantime. Maybe I'll make like, you know, really cheap assets or something like that. So then that way, blah blah blah. When it gets to like, you know, oh, after taxes and what have you, and people are like, oh man, I wish I had like some sort of you know, object in 3D environment. I'm like, oh, here's one available. It will just cost you $2 or something like that, and then people would be like, wow, that's a steal, and it's so like, you know, so compact and isn't resource heavy, in which case it goes like that. But that's probably not happening anytime soon. That's what my brain has been like, I am sorry to say. That is where the world is going, is you have to slowly but surely start making money out of your hobbies. It's absolutely terrible. It is what it is. Yeah. Why am I just... Where's my energy going? What the hell? Why? No, and I also don't want to, like... I don't want to drink soda or anything like that, especially, like... Because let's be real, it's past 6 o'clock. I don't want to stay up all night. And, like, I've already had, like, you know, the HSP, which was kind of like an unofficial dinner when I don't really need dinner. I'm sitting in front of a desk and what have you. Don't need to do any of that nonsense. Thank you for the head pats, though. Oh, Bookie, I appreciate it. Alright. Let's get this game up and running. Now, I did try and include... Like, there was something called a silent patch to try and fix up the frame rate issue I was having. I did a little test, like, before stream and what have you. It doesn't look like it actually did what I wanted, unfortunately. It didn't do what I wanted. Like, it's like the buffering issue that I have where it's like where like the frame rate. Come on, press start. Alright, function F8 to pause the music. Extra loud, I know, but hopefully now hopefully now all that's fixed. Alright, manual save. The Four Kings of Omi. Sayama's in trouble if I don't. Oh, cool. So yeah, it'll probably come up like in this combat, but we're gonna like, I'll see if I can try and like get an example of it going off where it decides to just like take a little bit of extra time to realize I can release the button. Yeah, right there, like in the pauses. You basically have to like almost tap twice as fast in order to do it. Let me see if I can force it again. Like what? Let's see. So if I do the camera turn. I know this looks terrible, but just wait for me. It'll happen. Hi there, Sir Dragon. Okay, maybe I'm in luck. Maybe. Only 5%? Sorry to hear that, Sir Dragon. Hopefully it'll be better one day. Hi there, Sky. Welcome to the stream. Still... no. Maybe it has been fixed.
Yeah.
Aw, 93% cute. Look at that. Good for you. Oh, god damn it. I can't go that way to get to where I need to go. Alright, what's this? Pawn shop, smile. Oh, okay. Oh, wait, intervene. Don't be disrupting the nice lady. Ah, there it is. Did you see that? Did you notice that? You may be cute. Zebra butt is cuter. Zebra butt ain't cute. Zebra butt is not a cute thing. I've had a lot of people tell me it's delicious though, despite the fact none of them have eaten my butt. So I have to refuse those people. I have to reject them. I do not consent to getting my butt bit. Alright. This place you wanted me to find. So we go over there. Excuse me.
あんた誰や？
桐生というものだが。
は、ちょこちょこ担当買いやがってほんまに。そんなようなことしたかてな、払えんもんは払えんよ。
え？
あんたみかじめ取りなんちゃうん？
佐山薫って女知ってるな。
薫が？どないしたん？
怪我をしてる。
どこにおるんや？
車に待たせてある。
はよ連れてこんかいな。
I missed the little tidbit. Oh, wait, no. Oh, like, that was the officer, and I said I left her in the car. Alright. Oh, wait, fight me. Fight me. There we go. And then there's fun little physics like that. There we go. So yeah, it has these moments of, like, I noticed it in the combat then, where it feels like it doesn't catch on to some of the button prompts, or like whether I'm trying to release it or if I'm trying to engage one, it doesn't seem to pick up on it. And the problem is that like I've Googled this problem so much, and the one thing I haven't tried that wouldn't help on stream is playing this game without an internet connection. I can't play this game without an internet connection. For the very simple reason of, I'm normally streaming when I'm playing this game, so it can't work for me. God, it's got those moments, doesn't it? Alrighty, delinquents, more fighting. I need money, and you are not There we go. So yeah, so because of the whole, you know, micro stuttering that goes off during like button inputs in combat, it makes trying to do some of the combos like a lot more difficult. And because I can't like forcibly replicate how to do the micro stutters, there comes these like occasions where it's just like, great, the entire combo attempt is, you know, fruitless. I just don't have hurry and carry to AoE will decrease over time as you dash around town. Running into people will decrease your health to safety before the health is gone. If you get spotted by one of the many chatty citizens, you'll have to listen to their idle talk, which means you'll lose precious time. Watch out for them. Yeah, right there. Right there, it had a moment where, like, there again. Oh my god, this game. Like, I want to enjoy the Yakuza series, but, you know, if it's going to... Like, we're only at, like, game 3 of, like, 7 right now. And yes, I say 7 because because while I want to play Infinite Wealth, we're not going to go through, we're not going to go through Like a Dragon all over again, because I did that, like, 2+ years ago. Where do you want her? I did it on stream and everything, so... Ain't happening. It was back in the day when I would actually do a lot of just, any of the offline grinding, so to speak, would actually be done on stream. It was very boring. So, yeah. Osaka feels really trashy these days.
Oi, oi!
Hello, who the fuck are you? Join us today, sir. You won't regret it. Weird baker. Yeah, it just has this... It just has this irky feeling to me. The combat. When it decides not to work, I think. Like, moments of, like, you know, great fantasy and what have you, where it's, like, easy enough to just go, like, 1, 2, 3, it feels absolutely amazing. But if I'm, you know, dealing with, like, tougher enemies where it's, like, I want to engage with the combos, then, like, Japanese games have this whole, like, you know, methodical, like, you know, patience and what have you. But it's, like, hard to love that if, you know, you give me... Like that. Like, I was there were moments where I was like, I wanted to, like, I would go to X and then rapidly go to Y, but it was like, oh, you know, you're just pressing Y here. And I'm like, I'm pressing X. So. Oh, hello. Dude with, like, fancy ladies. Thank you for the boopette. Ah, sorry about that, friend. You alright? I should be asking you that. You okay, old man? I go and bump into you and you're worried about me? That's awfully kind of you. Here, take this with my thanks.
Yeah.
Wait, this is a lot of money. I can't accept it. Don't be a stick in the mud, son. Consider it compensation for my bumping into you. So generous. A real philanthropist. Hi there, little Incineroar. Of course you go and slap my butt. See? Just take it. Make me look good to the arm candy. By the way, name Shigeru Ukanamatsu. What should I call you? I'm Kiryu. Kiryu, huh? Well, if you start feeling pain after the fact, you just come and find me. I'll cover all your doctor's fees, no problem. We'll take care. Where to, Kanamatsu? Let's see. How about an arcade? I'm feeling like going a few rounds in Virtua Fighter. Yay, we earned 200,000 from all that. Yeah, there's just... Yeah, sometimes the movement just doesn't hit right. You picked probably one of the strangest times to do the rainbow effect, I'm sorry to say, Het. Like, what's up with that? Ow! You broke my whip. Problem? We barely nudged each other. Hey, that's a fancy pin on your plow. You a government man? You probably worth some serious cash. Fancy suit, nice hair. Can't you spare a couple of G's for my hospital bill? That guy's about to fall for a classic scam. Maybe I should step in. Yeah, and then it just did it. It just done it there.
Boy.
Like, went down, went to press A, and during the buffering, it's not like doing the thing. Who the hell are you? I'm just trying to get what I deserve from this tightwad of a government fat cat here. You want to help him pay his share? I'd be happy to beat it out of you. So much for that broken rib. Come on, then. Watch as we beat up this guy in, like, no time flat. There we go. Still want that money? I'm good. Later. Could have been in quite... I would have been in quite the conundrum had you not come along when you did. You've done the country a favor. This man is Councillor Seke of the National Diet, and I'm Mita, his aide. We're here in Osaka on business, but it seems rude street punks are a universal issue. Well said, sir. Mita-kun, give this man a copy. Very well, sir. Copy of what? What's this? A copy of the Council of Sake's magnum opus, You Unleashed. It's currently a nationwide bestseller. It is a resplendent work of the esteemed counselor to show the world that there is more to life than the trappings of great wealth. You flatter me, Mita. In stores, this book would run you at least 5,000 yen. But to thank you for your kindness, I've just handed you a signed copy, free of charge. My apologies, I know it isn't much. No need to be modest, counselor. Any man would feel blessed to have the wisdom contained within You Unleashed thrust into his hands. Thanks. I hope we cross paths again someday. You'll have to tell me what you think. This thing's really a bestseller? I guess I could skim it. There's not a single original thought in here. It's all just common sense and self-help fluff. Do people really buy this garbage? Yes. Yes, they do. People really do buy garbage books like these, where it's just filled with common sense and self-help. Because there's, unfortunately, these kinds of books here, those ones there, there's a slight inherent problem with why these are best-selling books, like the common sense and what have you. It's because people like me do not have common sense and, you know, social etiquette and what have you. Normally, these would be things that would be taught by, like, you know, your parents and social circles. But sometimes it's not taught at all, and you just have to, like, make it up as you go along. Hi there, Masonic. Ooh. Phone call. Moshi moshi. How are things on your end? We're okay for now. Chairman Guda's with me. We're headed towards Kamurocho by car. Good. How are you holding up, though? Hey, I'll make it. I'm not built like a truck like you, but I can still take a punch. Good to know. This alliance is in your hands right now. Yeah, I know. Later, then. Alright. So, can't go that way. Which way? You know what? I want to get something to eat. Hang on a second. This should be an eatery of some sort. Alrighty, we are going to get... so we can hold like 100. Alright, we're gonna go for the Hokori Kase and the sashimi will be full if he eats any more. Eating while full will replenish health, but will not grant extra effects like XP or bonus from menu combinations. Alright, that's 50, that's 40, that's 80, that's 30, that's 10. Alright, so that's 8, so we go 50, 40, and 10. So that gives us 50, 90, 150. Yeah, let's go with this one. Alright. We'll order the soup with the Hokori. Hi there, Deekas. Welcome to the stream. Hopefully you're doing alright.
気に入ったぜ
I am doing my
さ
Yakuza
あ行く
nonsense.
か
For Macro March, I created a thank you for the
ありがと
hyper
うございまし
himbo.
た。
What was that? Don't lick the donut. Just eat it. Licking donuts is weird when you do it like that. Why are you staring at a knife like that? Oh, hello there. I was just lost in thought, trying to come up with a new beef dish for my customers. Not a bad idea. Everyone loves beef. Exactly. But you know what's holding me back? This knife. I need a new one, but I haven't found the right feel. Every craftsman needs their tools. Yes! A carpenter needs a hammer, a writer needs a pen, and a chef needs a knife. We can't even think without them. I understand. You'll never make a perfect dish if you can't trust your knife. Again, A button doesn't work. Glad you see it my side.
Oh.
Hey, you seem like a stand-up guy. If you come across any knives, would you mind bringing them by? The type of knives I find aren't usually the ones you'd cook with. I wouldn't know the first thing about a good knife. That's fine. It all comes down to intuition. If it feels right, I can work with it. A knife could be made from the highest grade steel in the world, but it doesn't mean a thing if it doesn't feel right. On the other hand, a humble alloy kitchen blade can be a chef's greatest asset, as long as it fits his style. I see. Well, I'll do what I can to help. Thank you so much! Come back if you find something. Alright, so we're gonna need to find a butcher's knife at one point. Alright, I'm pretty sure there's a pawn shop somewhere. So there's the Satsunbori. Yeah, pawn shop is back that way. Yep, I'm going the right way. And what's more is I get to beat up even more thugs. Also, is there another key here? Nah, I thought there was gonna be another locker key. Alrighty. Oh hey, there's a locker key right over there. And there it goes again, doing the thingy-majiggies. But yeah, Deekas, did you know that you can make me even bigger than I am right now? How's she doing? Calm down, finally. Medicine's doing its job now, so she's napping. That's good. Anywho, sorry to bother you, but do you think you could pick it up some more bandages? I'm out, and this thing runs up again. Yeah, no problem. I'll pick some up on my way back. You're a doll. Talk to you soon. Alright, so we gotta now pick up bandages. Don't steal my shirt, Flu! That wasn't what I asked for. What are you doing, Flu the Kenku? You got more words you can repeat now as a Kenku? As a Kenku bard? Oh, god damn it, it's doing the thing again, where it decided to just be, you know, doing the micro-stuttering, like, you know, input lag shit.
いらっしゃいませ。
Alright, you're here to buy. Give me that butcher's knife.
Bigger.
Yeah, like that. See? Like that. Bigger. Oh boy. Yes. Oh. You gotta try it. Stylish leather jacket. Rusty thingy-majiggy. From a bygone era. 16 with 8 blade resistance. Proceed with the purchase. Yes, please.
ありがとうございました。
Alrighty. And then equipment. Butcher's knife, switchblade, and a long thingamadig. Alright, now as for gear, we get the rusted thingy, which now gives us 134 defense. No, we're not doing democracy. We're not doing Helldivers 2 again. We're doing. Okay, I need to go get bandages from the drugstore. We're not doing democracy.
Joe!
Think you can just go touching my babe and getting away with it? Take it easy, Hiroto. You probably didn't mean it. I ain't taking it easy. I saw this guy touching my sweet baby Kathy, and he ain't getting away with it. I'm guessing Kathy is that. Also, sorry to see that, blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry to see that we only got, like, bigger by 1 degree. Shame to see that. Are you talking about the car? Of course I am. I scrubbed this butte down with the best wax money can buy, and you just manhandled her. You think Kathy ain't worth that kind of money? Well, now you're making Kathy cry, asshole. How's it feel to be such a dick? What's that, Kathy? What's that? You sad? 'Cause this fool got you all dirty? There. Shh. There. Big Daddy Hero's gonna make it all better. You're gonna pay for breaking my baby's heart, Kazu. Give me a hand here. But, Hiroto, you're gonna scratch the car if you start a fight here. Shut it. Ain't nobody lays a finger on my Kathy and gets away with it. Ill-natured men. Yes, excuse me while I punch the fucking dude Yes! I was able to hit 2 of them at the same time. Look at him fly because of the fucking physics engine not knowing how to handle it. You would be dead. I hope you understand that, like, for Kiryu to be able to do all that and have you still standing means that he's a greater user of the blade than most Ow. It's like I'm stepping on ice. You pledge allegiance to the flag. United Super Nation. Hang on, I need to read this properly. I need to read this properly when I have the chance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United Nations of Super Earth and to democracy, for which we stand, one nation under the Helldivers, indivisible for liberty and justice for those who follow democracy. Like that? Somebody call me an ambulance. I'm begging you. Sorry about this, man. Hiroto's a good goddamn fool about this car of his. Maybe this will make him think twice before he throws a punch. Here, let me apologize to you. 20,000. Looks like you have your hands full keeping him in line. Good luck with that. But keep off the burgers. I will try to keep off the burgers. Was that Kathy? You think I'm lame? Sorry, baby. Big Daddy Hero will be a better man from here on. Give it a rest already. But yeah, Flu, you missed out. Like, unfortunately, the next time someone can hyper himbo me using channel points will take like 30 minutes wait time. But if you use 69 bits, you can hyper himbo me right now. And what this also means is that when you hyper himbo me, there's an opportunity to use 10 channel points to like hyper himbo me even further. I'll probably think of a way of making it so then that way there is a means for... Maybe I should make it where if there's any amount of hyper himbo... If there's any amount of bits that are given to me that's like 10 or more, then we'll just turn on like the hyper himbo thing. Or maybe when there's a hype train. Who knows? I'll figure these things out. Alright, what's in here? Illusionary Tonfas. Toughness. D1. E2. Hi there, Xerix. I'm doing alright. I'm still getting, like, moments of, like, weird ping nonsense in this game, which makes some of the button pressing prompts, like, a little bit annoying to do. But, you know, we're going strong. We're still getting through the story and what have you. Oh, that reminds me, I needed tissues for that guy. I need to find tissues for him. Normally, there's just, like, any random dude just walking around, or, like, that's just standing outside holding out tissues. And now there's, like, barely anyone around. I might need to go into this store. Let's see. Protects against burns, paralysis, being blinded, being stunned. All walks of life. Those who kick ass on the daily. Alright, so there is no tissues here. An absolute shame. Also, why the fuck is there a maid outfit? Would you prefer to be called Grant or Zeebs? I prefer either one, Shibore. You're welcome to pick whichever one you think is appropriate. You're welcome to go with any one of them. Zeebs is probably one that a lot of people use when they first meet me and such, especially as especially furries meeting me for the first time, because normally furries just think in like Persona species stuff. But that gets a little bit confusing when there's someone like Scribbly Noodle whose like character name is Z. So when some people, like if me and Scribbly Noodle are in the same channel, they'll say Z, and sometimes they'll mean both. Like, they will get confused of, oh, damn it, more input lag. There will be moments of people getting confused of, like, whether they were trying to get, like, Zeebs or Z. Ain't gonna find it now. My hips feel more knotted than a noodle bowl. Situation of call one, get two. Yeah. People tend to nickname me Shib. Not, well, am I saying your name correctly, Shibor? Or is it like Shibore, where I have to like use the E with the accent? You got that right, Buster. Granny got something she needs you to do. Is that any way to ask for a favor? Don't question your elders, Sonny. This here's little lady's in trouble, and you're just gonna pass on by? Yes. Use the E with the accent. Shibore. Ah, my ulcer is flaring up. Such agonizing pain. I'm about to fall right over. Ow, or maybe it's appendicitis. But I thought the doc sliced mine out years ago. Can those grow back? Or maybe it's my appendix ghost. I think I'm dying here. Ain't anyone around who'll help save a dying old lady? A strong, sturdy man with generosity in his heart in particular? A tragedy! Yuriko Hayashibe, dead at 57 years young, cut down by the heavens in the prime of her life, died alone, screaming with agony. I'm going towards the light. Oh, I can hear the angels. If only there was a muscle man in the vicinity who'd save me. I get it. I'll help you if you just keep it down. Oh, lovely. Thank you kindly, son. Hey, what happened to the excruciating pain? Guess you brought me back from the brink with your kindness. Anyways, let me tell you what I need. You dropped something real important to me. Somewhere around the riverbank here. Think you can help me find it? Fine. Otherwise you're gonna be like, you know, more annoying. Dropped an amulet down by the river. I'm sure you'll see if you keep your eyes on the ground as we walk. I'll come back soon. Hopefully with my amulet in tow. Counting on you, Sonny. Bring it on back to me if you find it. Noted. Damn, I was kind of hoping that was the amulet right there and this mission was done for. Alrighty, is it these punks? Nope, it's just, you know, more delinquents picking out on main men. There we go. The maid outfit looks like yours. I don't have a maid outfit. I don't know what you're talking about. There is no maid outfit, chat. There's no way I have a maid outfit. Thank you for you really saved my ass. Chat.
I don't care
No,
what gender
Xerix.
you are. Put on the maid outfit.
Oh, this maid outfit. It's not mine. It's not mine at all. I don't know how this got on me, but it's not mine at all. Oh my god, there's so many keys here. Alrighty. So she said she lost it like near the river. So it's around here somewhere. Also, if I can find a pair of tissues, that'd be great. Oh my god, so many keys. So many keys. Alrighty. Yeah. Hey there. Childless woman was doing her washing when a baby inside a giant peach floated right downstream. Nope, that sounds ridiculous. Making my way down the river, trying to find an amulet, but probably gonna find keys. I hope there was more walking along the river so I can find what I'm looking for. My goodness, this path is long. There's so much to look for. Oh my god, Kiryu, you're so exhausted. Also, the guy can't stop sneezing. Sad for him. Another Sutton Lori. So many fucking keys. How is there so many keys near the river? Like, this is a high traffic zone. How has no one just gone and like picked up free keys? It's ridiculous. Alrighty, Yakuza, he's trying to get into a fight. Yeah, I threw him over the river. Yes! I did it again! It's even funnier the second time! Well, Zeebs, if it
時間食っちまった
isn't yours, shouldn't you bring it back? Yeah, well, I can't take it off now because Chad asked me to wear a maid outfit. And if I decided to take it off early, then no doubt I'm gonna have Blue Foxy Nicey Icy be like, oh ho, you broke the rules. Where's the fucking what's-a-mahoozy? Where's the maid outfit? You were supposed to wear it for an hour. Also, I could not care about this dialogue. The Osakan old lady is now my ally. I did not realize I would get an ally. Alrighty. Hey, more trash. More keys. Because apparently I can't get enough of them. Oh, I need to pick up. Ah, damn it! I couldn't pick up the thing I wanted.
時間食っちまった
All right, now the first question: do the items I pick up, like weapon-wise? Yeah, cool. All right, they go in here. Nice. I'm gonna keep hold of those. Now the good news is I get to increase all my different stats. Battle skills, leaping fist. Oh, I should probably different battle skills. Heat actions, opportune strike, blunt object, blade, and okay. I'm gonna get the blunt object one. Parry from then seize to perform a devastating attack. Essence of Hot Pot. A cooperative skill performed to the local ally rains streaming broth down upon the enemy. When Franz Takuyoke in Sotenbori, press Y near any... Okay, cool. Dislocation. Technique primer. Reading technique primer. Learning from videos. Life skills. Alright. Boosting XP one more time. If we can try and boost our XP as much as possible, it will improve our chances in leveling up faster. And normally in systems like this, you want to gain experience fast. Nice. All right, so that's one. That's two. That's three. That's four. That's five. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We opened up 10 lockers. Jesus. How have we not gotten like napkins from anywhere? Predict. All right. Moving on. We gotta get to the drugstore, we gotta get some more bandages, and we can probably get some, you know, of our supply and what have you. Also, I'm going to purchase, if it would let me, Yep, there we go, doing that thing again. Gauge by 5. We'll see you as a true boss and are likely to drop more money. Okay, so that's a maximum of 10. And that's a maximum of 10. I've tried Boss Coffee one time in Australia. Like, it was actually in a vending machine and everything. Wasn't my cup of tea, I'm sorry to say. Like, I like my iced coffee, but I wasn't a fan of, like, chilled, like, black coffee. I much rather prefer, you know, ones that are, like, you know, almost like an ice, like the iced milk coffee.
いらっしゃいませ。
All right, get some bandages. And then. Alrighty, purchase all that.
ありがとうございました。
That was really cheap. Thank goodness. Alright, I need to find who can give me napkins. I need to find some desperate pleb that's just gonna give me napkins. It's gonna make my day so much easier if I can just get that you know, napkin like dude out of the way. Virtual fighter. Oh, it's oh yeah, this is the guy I bumped into. I poured 300 grand into this machine, and that's just today. That's a lot of money. 300 grand can barely keep the lights on in my foyer. Room. Right you are. Anyway, I've been at it all day, and now I want to spice it up a bit. I'll put 10 grand on the line if you're game. Virtual Fighter 2.1 is my current addiction, and right now I'm on a 3-round winning streak. Beat my streak, and I'll fork over the cash. Sound good? Sure. Why not? Alrighty. Iced cappuccino. What's the ice break? Like, what's the stuff in ice break? Because that stuff I like. Alrighty.
Fight 1. Ready. Go!
View controls. A, B, and X. Right bumper, right trigger, left bumper, left trigger. Okay.
KO.
There we go, that's one. Oh wait, no, I need to beat him another time.
Fight 2. Ready. Go!
Go.
KO.
This is a I'm not doing too hard. Next
Fight
stage.
1. Ready. Go!
Oh, ow. Akira! 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 I need to try and do like a... I need to try and do like a... God, jeez. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Better run home to mama now.
Fight 1. Ready. Go!
Better run home to mama now.
Weird that this is like...
Better run home to mama now.
Nah, can't do this. Are you sure you want to quit the minigame? Yeah, I'm sure. I can't do combat very well. As you would have most doubtly have seen how I play in in what's in the Whoozy, in blah 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 blah, in Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter 6. I am not the best at fighting games. I am not that good at it. Also, where the fuck am I gonna find a man with tissues? You got tissues, sir? Used to be real slick and sexy. Nope, don't care. Alright, no tissues over there. There's gonna be someone with tissues.
Kiryu-san.
This rat here is trying to weasel his way out of paying me back what he owes. Please, I just need a little more time. I'll pay you back as soon as I can scrape the cash together. Barely getting food on the table. I don't give a damn.
Huh?
You're gonna get my money, and I don't care if you gotta sell your house to do it. Jeez. Kanematsu is laying it on pretty thick. I shouldn't take sides here. Let's stay out of it. Now you gotta pay up or keep whining at me. But I'll deal with debt collection another day. For now, I need to find a man that will give me tissues, or I'm just gonna continue on with... Let's see if you guys will give me tissues. Come on. Yeah, nah. I haven't played Tekken yet. I know Tekken is out, and like anyone that's into fighting was like, holy shit, Tekken is the greatest fighting game ever. But fighting games aren't my thing. And last year I was already doing the whole, let's experiment with different games and what have you, being absolutely irresponsible with my money. I need to stop being irresponsible with my money. Plus, normally I only go into games that have stories, like ones that are compelling me. Alright, I wasn't able to find a tissue, man, so we're just gonna... Hey, do not be bothering this woman! Do not be bothering the woman! There we go. Thank you so much. Ah. Alright, into the club we go. Ah. There we go. System data from the Yakuza series has been found. Haruka's marble. The fuck is Haruka's marble? She especially likes that one. Interesting. Oh. Something decided... Oh, it's just my ad blocker telling me that they've updated and they would like a donation. The whole point of getting the ad blocker was so that I didn't need to get notifications about all kinds of nonsense. Thank you, but no. Sorry. Alright, put you there. Hang on a second, I'm gonna be double checking a few things. Okay, this thing has, like, barely any charge, so I need to, like... I thought my AirPods would charge from like the wireless thingy-majiggy, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Alrighty. Purple bun. Eat this. to
なん
increase
と
your
いう
immunity.
味だ。
Excellent.
うまい。
Alrighty. Stats. 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 Alright, so I need a lot more of the orange and the green. Ooh, hello. Token of appreciation. Increase the chances that items will drop from enemy encounters. Once again, the thingy-majiggy is free. Alright, cool. Learn that, which will give us that. Employee of the month. The employees gain improved. I'll deal with this one once the Majima construction thingy-majiggy comes in. No point in going for all that just yet. Boosting digestion. Boosting the hunger. Unlocked after learning heat gauge limit 2. Leaping fist. Press Y while lunging. Deal more damage when you hit when they are attacking. Boost damage done by X except for charge attacks. Alright, that one needs a lot more heat thingamajiggies. Boost heavy. Boost damage done by throws. Attack immediately after a quick step. Increase the quick step distance. Gauge limit 2. 230 health, okay. Actually, hang on. Let me go back to my equipment, go to the gear. So, 3 attack, 9 defense, 5 defense. There we go. Revives you upon death and shatters. Noted. Well, she's unconscious. Alright.
おい、
Here you go. Great. Thanks, sugar. Save me the trouble. Ah, excuse me. Stretching.
病院にいたのか？手慣れたもんだったな。
Hello, Jason. Welcome to the stream.
やっぱりか。狭山とはかなり親しいようだな。
親しい？
Cookie for
当
Jason.
たり前や。うちはこの子の親や。
え？
まあ血はつながってへんけどな。一応これでも母親や。
義理の母親ってことか。
そういうよりも育ての親っちゅう方が
Hi,
近いな。
Jason.
この子
Don't.
Cozy.
Why you gotta poke my butt?
孤児。
生まれてすぐ両親が死んでもうてな。そやからうちが育てたんや。
そうか。道理でな。
どないしたん？
いや。実は撃たれた時、あいつは青いって店に行けと言ったんだ。
それが何なん？
普通人間は
Bar is not exactly the
ああ
first
いう
place
状
people
況下で
throw out in that
店の名前
situation.
を言わない。母親や父親のことを先に言うんだ。
へえ、そういうもんなん？
Makes you so sure.
なんでわかるん？
Well, because Kiryu is an orphan as well, and he's done the same sort of thing like in the previous game, I'm pretty sure.
まあ、カオルにとったらうちはほんまのおかんちゃうしな。
すまん。気に障ったか。
ああ、いえいえ、気にせんといて。うちは全くそういうの気にせえへんから。
そうか。
そんなことよりあんた、カオルと同業？
Lol, the ear cups of the
それ
age
と
ones
も
are already
探偵さんかなんか？
pieces.
いや、そんな立派なもんじゃね
え？なんなん？
え。まあ、警察の敵って言ったところだ。
え？
Eh?
ママ、おしゃべりしすぎやで。
痛むか。
あんたに心配される筋合いじゃないわ。
あんたちょっとここまで運んでくれはったんやで。礼ぐらい言うたらどないやの？
ヤクザ風情に礼言うほど私も落ちちゃないわ。
あんたほんま
Cookie
に
for Sky. Glad to see you
それ
still
だ
with
け
us,
口が
Cookie.
聞けりゃ
Sorry,
もう
not
大丈
Cookie,
夫だ。
Sky. But my god, I am just not feeling it tonight, chat.
しかしゴーダ龍二が
Surprise.
これほど手回しがいいとは思わなかった。
これは合田龍二の仕業じゃないわ。
え？
合流会は力で相手をとことん追い詰めてとどめを刺す。それが奴らのやり方よ。こんなプロの殺し屋を雇うような手の込んだ真似はしないわ。
プロの殺し屋？
あの距離からライフルを扱える者はそうはいないわ。それにこの弾丸、
どうかし
There
た。
better be an explanation
通
for
常
why
の
it's
ライフルで使用
barely
する弾丸よりも
why it's
口
barely
径が小さい。
punctured.
殺すつもりじゃなかったのかもしれないわ。
つまり相手は俺を
Also, she says it's not like this is smaller than most. That's a pretty big fucking bullet, okay? Like, whenever you see a bullet, like, come here. Whenever you see a bullet, like, everyone thinks it's like, you know, like when you look at, say, the 5.56s, they think it's like fairly tall, but that's not the case. The only reason it seems like that is because there's the bullet, and then it's sitting in the shell, and the shell has like all this extra metallurgy nonsense with it. So a bullet that may be this tall is more likely like, you know, a lot smaller, like, you know, this short or something like that. So when she's like holding this bullet where let me remind you, the bullet doesn't have any of that like depression or anything like that. It's a pretty big fucking bullet.
脅そうと。
さあ、わからないわ。それは直接犯人から聞くしかないわね。どこ行くの？
雇い主を探す。このままじゃ俺は誰と戦えばいいかわからないからな。
それならこれ持って小副長の雀荘へ行きなさい。
The Mahjong parlor. We're going back to the Mahjong parlor.
三人宅で撃っているちゃんちゃんこを着た男。あなたがレートはと聞くと、向こうがいつもどのくらいで撃ってると聞き返す。そこであなたはあんたに任せると答える。
あんたに任せるか。
そう。そしたら相手はデタラメなレートを言うわ。とにかくそれを受けて。
わかった。
ちょっと待って。一言言っておくけど、あなたは府警の監視下にあるのよ。逃げるような真似しないでね。私の電話一本で即座に逮捕できるんだから。わかったわね。
Yeah, we're clear. So yeah, I didn't have a chance to look at the bullet again, but hang on. Let's see if it's in our inventory. No, it's not in our inventory. Okay. Moving on. Also, we got more people to beat up.
やったるで
Time to beat up some thugs! Yeah, you're dead. You just bled as I punched you, and then you hit the corner of that sign. You're dead. Alright, well the next time Kiryu holds out the bullet, we'll see whether the game has just decided to have a fucking 9mm with the casing and everything, or if it is actually just one bullet.
Ah?
We're asking for imitations and all, thinking they're all the big shots. You gotta be as good as Jonka just to get into the place now. Sorry, Jonka? You don't know who Jonka is? Any Mahjong player worth his salt would about piss his pants at hearing the man's name. So, the 3 top dogs in underground Mahjong were Jonka, Jonko, and Jongen. But Jonka's up and quit Mahjong, and now he just wastes away at an arcade. Got addicted to them UFO catcher machines. Kind of a sad story. Sound was breaking up bad? I'm sorry to hear that. Damn. Is it breaking up now? Like, is it breaking up even further? Any new keys? No, there isn't. Okay. Only during the fights. Alright, so is it going to be breaking up here?
面白くなりそうや。いいねや。あれ。かな。
手間取らせやがって。
Did it do the sound nonsense then? Also, I can see that the volume of the thingamajiggy is very high, despite the fact I've put it to like... That should be better. Less likely to, like, maximize my audio. Alright, so I need to get to a guy who's addicted to the UFO machines. Oh, hey, something... Hey, a new Satonbori key. And another Satonbori key. Oh, it's Christmas time. I didn't realize it was Christmas time in the game. Alrighty. So I need to talk to this Mahjong player. Jonka. Sure, sounds good. Alright, so we just need to get one of these red kitties. I don't know how failed that is. Oh, that wasn't too bad of a... That wasn't that big of a failure. Okay, so it was actually, like... Thingy. Alright, here we go. So that was... Grab number 1. Alright, let's see how good this grab is. Oh, that's even worse. This is UFO Catcher 8. Alrighty, here we go. This is the one, chat. This is the one. Fuck. Again, that wasn't the one. We're gonna next time. We're doing it again. All right? Don't question it. What? I am firmly grasping it. Would you like to try this game? Well, that was bullshit. Alright, I'm gonna go for this one on the left here.
どこを狙うかがポイントをします。うまく狙えましたか？自動で動きます。よく狙ってください。
These things are probably only worth like 800 yen. And here I am spending like 1,500 right now to get one of them.
自動で動きます。
Oh, fuck off. I'm gonna get it, don't you worry. I'm not gonna be bested by a loser mahjong
どこを狙
player.
うかがポイントです。
Oh, come on.
うまく狙えましたか？自動で動きます。
This game infuriates me. I have won at these claw machine games previously in Yakuza 0. I do not understand why this one decides to be different for me.
自動で動きます。 よく狙ってください。次はどこを狙いますか？うまく狙えましたか？
Get it! Get it! Yes!
動きます。
Oh, that was good! Hold it! No! It's mocking me. It's mocking me like that.
どこを狙うかがうまく狙えましたか？自動で
Alright, now
動きます。
hopefully because of it being the other... Oh...
よく狙ってください。どこを狙うかうまく狙えましたか？
Get it at the tail.
自動で動きます。
Yes. Yes. No. No, 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 no. Don't you... Oh, you mother...
よく狙ってください。次をします。
No! Oh, you...
自動で動きます。
It lagged on me. It lagged on me and it didn't take on the aspect of, like, the A button being deselected then.
よく狙ってください。どこを狙うかがうまく狙えましたか？
Because it was just that. Just a click. That's all I wanted. It's wasted a move on me. Alright, here we go. Here we go. Here we... I just want to shake the fucking machine. Just go, ah! Give it to me!
移動します。よく狙ってください。次はうまく狙えましたか？
Mine. Mine. Close it.
自動で
Hold it. No, that's... Oh, you... I'm not gonna be bested by a fucking video game.
よく狙ってください。次うまく狙えましたか？
Get pinched.
自動で動きます。
Yes! There we go.
おめでとうございます。よく狙ってください。
Might as well try and...
うまく狙えましたか？
Might as well try and get the other one if I can.
自動で動きます。
Yeah, thought not. This game just wanted to make fun of me. It would have been even funnier if it got me, like, on the...
また遊んでくださいね。
Whoa, nice job, buddy! There was a time when I was by that name, but I gave up the name. Why'd you stop? Wouldn't have if those dirty Yakuza hadn't cheated me. Bastards forced me into debt. I was doing okay running away from them. But now the sons of bitches of my little girl Yukiko. They're telling me if I ever want to see her again, I gotta give them 5 million yen. Say, you wouldn't happen to have 5 million yen, and I could have, would you? Not exactly a thing you up and ask a guy, is it? I'm sorry, but all I'm really after is an invitation to Ricci Towers. Special tile that made to act kind of like a membership card. You get my baby girl back and the tile's all yours. Fine. I'm sure, don't let me hurt this. I'm gonna be real. I am not going to get I'm not gonna go and get like 500 yen. Alright, so I gotta get to the coin lockers. My god. Picnic chairs are not as strong in Japan. Not as strong in Japan as they would be in, say, Australia. There we go. Got exactly what I wanted then. Plus, because we're near the coin lockers, I get to open up another 2 coin lockers! Oh, drop the knife. And there we go. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Got the money? Last thing you're getting from me is money. How's it going, Morse? Can we get a shout out for Morse Amalgam, please? How was your overlay work? Did you keep on doing overlay work, or did you move on to like a video game afterwards? There we go. Thank you, Jason. Didn't get too much done, honestly. Hit a wall and ended up waiting out. Fair enough. I understand that kind of shit can happen sometimes, especially when you're, you know, because was it happening during like sort of like a technical difficulty or in a when you're like having a creative difficulty, I wonder. Because for me, the issue arises in trying to think like in a design or creative fashion is usually where I'm struggling, is in the creative side. If it's something technical, for some reason I can kind of work my way through it. Sometimes, like I was with you, Morse, when I was working on the, you know, the macro March stuff. But when it comes to something like, you know, creative design, like, oh, incentives for macro March, or how I want something to look, I don't have like a really good idea on like how to accomplish that where there is no right answer. Oh, hello. Let me just eat something real quick. 1 second. So more likely to drop money? Yes, please. And a balanced bento diet. There we go. Alright, time to take on the Yakuza. There we go. To be honest, one of my viewers got weird, and it took me so out of the mental state that I couldn't focus. Was it me? Was I the weird viewer that got your mental focus out because of talking about, like, light no sky or light no fire or whatever the Sean Murphy next game was? Was I responsible for that nonsense? Sup? Give me your money. Give me your money. Give me your... No Man's Sky. That. Nice. Nah, another one. Just decide to be edgy. Okay. Alright, cool. Glad that it wasn't me, then. I am going to be petty that way and take this as a win. But yeah, like, one of the things I noticed, like, I don't know if it's, like, most introverts, but I notice it a lot with me, is whenever someone talks about, or whenever, like, this gets brought up a lot. Is my fan running? Yeah, my fan's running. This gets brought up a lot for me, like, when I'm viewing social media and such. Whenever people are engaging, fan's not fast enough. Hang on a second. I'm gonna increase the speed of my fan. I'm kind of a bit sweaty. I don't feel chill. Ah, big stretch. Oh, big stretch. All right. Where was I? Oh, I need to put this back on my chest. There we go. So something I notice, like, that will normally like, if I see someone commenting about, like, sort of social occurrences or how someone acts on social media, and whether it's, like, a positive or a negative sort of thing, like, for example, or no, I don't have an explicit example on me, but two things pop into my head whenever commentary about how someone acts socially on social media is number one, do I have a problem with the person they're talking about in the negative light and what have you? And then number two, do I do the same thing that they're talking about? And normally that second bit of, like, oh, is the thing they're talking about a problem? Like something that I do and such like that. I have a moment of just sort of like, oh, goodness. Am I the bad person? And it's like, you know, trying to figure out whether or not I've done that kind of behavior. Alright, cool. We got the cat back. Now, top of my foot. God damn it. I need to get, like, a foot bath or something. Because I have a bath in my bathroom, but I don't need the entire bath. I just need something to soak my foot in. Like, at least that's what I think I need. I need something to, like, soak my foot in, so then that way I have, like, a salts or something like that. Because I think, like, the top of my foot is itchy, and it's at risk of infection. And if it gets infected, then I just want to scratch it even more, which only spreads the infection. And using the bottom of my foot to scratch it is probably not the best case on how to, you know, relieve the foot pain. Yes, you got your cat back. How to win at Mahjong. Alright, let's have a look. A book that details the finer points of Mahjong. Oh, joy. Doesn't explain anything to me. I don't know how to play Mahjong, so someone is going to have to tell me the good strats when we get to it. I'm so tired. Skip that. Skip that. Food. There we go. Alright, let's get moving. Gives us a little bit of food, a little bit of health. But yeah, if it's getting to the end of the night for you, Morris, and you need to like get some sleep and what have you, or de-stress or anything like that, then you're welcome to just... I know I don't stream at great times for America. Stab in the chest and kick him in the... Oh, knee the... I thought I was gonna kick him in the balls. There we go.
しばらく寝てろ。
Did it. Alrighty, time to head to the mahjong game. Also, is there another key here? Oh, yep, there's something there. Jesus, Kiryu, you are so out of breath. Excuse me. Oh my god, it's doing the micro stuttering again. I don't know if I can handle that anymore. I don't know if I can handle that. Before stream, my boss dumped a good 20 hours of needless work on me, so you're trying to get some of that done. If my boss gave me like 20 hours of work to do, and it wasn't given in the context of, oh, just try and get through it, like, over the next few months or something like that, yeah, no thanks. Everyone has a padded vest. Or, these three people have a padded vest.
Huh?
It's your call. Win, and you could fucking buy the Osaka. Fine by me. What do you want to know? What can you tell me about this bullet? I need to know where it come from. 100 grand. Take it or leave it. Fine. Fine. Tell me. Tell me more. Alright, let's have a look at this bullet. That is quite a large bullet.
寺田いや東上界5代目とは兄弟分でした
そうや
Yeah, I can see a little bit of the... There it is. Alright, there it is. There's the bullet. I'm gonna be real with you. That is a pretty big fucking bullet. That is definitely a 556. That is not a tiny bullet. That is a pretty big bullet.
陸からの密輸銃でしか使用できへんタイプの特殊なもんや。今関西でこのルートから武器を調達しとるんは近江高島会しかない。
高島が他に流してるという線は
ないな。あの高島っちゅうやつやそないな危ない橋は渡らん。
Point is, it's not a small bullet. You have a good night, Sky. Thank you for coming along.
密輸はあくまで安うてええ武器を手に入れる手
The
段
only
でし
reason
か
you
ないん
struggle in
や。
guns is because it's cheaper that way.
だがどうしてそこまで
So
分
if
かっ
this
ていて
so if
警
this is
察は動
common
かない
knowledge, why haven't
さあ
you
な
da-da-da-da?
それはわしにもわからん。
Wait, I don't have to read these
だ
lines.
が
だが
おっとあかんあかん。これ以上は言えまへんわ。わしが話せんのはここまでや。
Bribes.
なぜ高島が
Who knows?
じゃあ計画は成功したんだな。
はい。親父の指示通り軽く怪我させる程度に。
弾はどうした？
それも手はず通りです。あの桐生って男がよほどのバカじゃない限り車内に残った弾からうちの仕業だと気がつくでしょう。
そうか。
でもどうしてこのようなことを。
これで奴は誰も信じることができなくなる。今はそれだけで十分だ。
わかりました。で、この後はどうしましょうか。
しばらくの間待機だ。このまま泳がしとけ。時間はある。
はい。それでは。
なあお前、電話しとったんかい。取り調べなめとんのか。
単なるビジネスの話ですよ。 私もいろいろ忙しいんで。
極道風情がカッコつけんなよ。こっちは裏でお前が汚いことぎょうさんやっとんの知っとんのじゃ。噂やと己んとこの組織がライフル密輸しとるそうやないか。
任意の取り調べですよね。お答えする義務はないはずですが、別件の取り調べでもやるつもりですか？
いや、
こっちは被害者なんですよ。捕まえるなら桐生一馬の方なんじゃないですか。
他の幹部連中の話と違うがな。お前桐生の味方ちゃうんか。
まさか。近江は被害者です。さっさと桐生をあの女刑事さんに捕まえさせてくださいよ。簡単な話ですよね。
お前なんでサイマのこと。
まあいいでしょう。ところで別所さん、本部長から何かお達しがあったんじゃないですか？
ああ、そうや。ご丁重にお帰りいただけって言われたわ。もう帰って。釈放や。
そうですか。では。
高島、お前何企んどるか知らんが、南部府警の上層部と繋がっとっても逃げられへんど。合流会の肩持つような真似しくさったらすぐに同じや。分かっとんな。
別所さん、もう極道と警察が喧嘩する時代は終わったんですよ。
I think I know what I want to do in regards to Macro March, I think. Like, I feel like subs would definitely be it. I feel like if I can like do like, oh, if you gift a sub or something like that, then Macro March triggers without the Hyper Himbo and such like that, you know, one time or something like that. But then I need to figure out like, oh, okay, like how many, like what happens if it's 5 gift subs? Do I just make it where the growth goes off like that many times?
30万や。
That's a lot of money. I don't think I have 300 grand. Can't make it a lick cheaper. Time to hit the bank, buddy. I'm not paying that. Maybe Urukawa can help me out on this one. The temptation. But yeah. One of the things I might need to do, like, as much as I love this keyboard I have, it doesn't have a numpad. And the numpad is relatively important in using Blender very rapidly. I might need to remember to, like, rather than having the, like, the old, like, keyboard with the numpad and such, rather than having that, like, stowed away outside this room, I might need to, like, put it right next to me or something like that, so then whenever I want to do 3D stuff, once again, this game decides to input lag, god damn you. I should have the full-size keyboard, like, really close by, so then that way I can have that, like, plugged in, because it's got a USB-C port on it. And then just, ow. Come on. There we go. Could always get a USB numpad or something. I could, but the thing is I already have a full-size keyboard. And it's just a case of I need to, like, just move away this giant, this, like, lovely keyboard that I have in front of me with the custom keys and everything like that. Like, I love this keyboard, but it is not, it's not the keyboard for doing all the 3D Blender stuff in a lickety-split manner because of the, like, it's so weird how essential the numpad feels in regards to, needing to do any of the what's-a-mahoozy stuff. Needing to do any of the 3D modeling nonsense. Need to ask the bartender about some old ones. Out of the way. Out of the way! It's so incredibly essential for yeah, because the thing is that you need to do, like, it's like a dot or something like that to go to your selected item. It's a num 0 to view it from the active camera. Like so many camera movements with the numpad. It's crazy. And, like, you would think it's like, oh, it's only for the numpad, like, or it's only for the camera. How important is that? Very important, apparently. Like, anytime I'm doing, like, 3D nonsense stuff, I'm just sort of like, oh my god, stop input lagging! I'm just very... I want to enjoy the combat. There are moments of this combat being interesting, and then you just go and ruin it for me. Thank you for the hyper himbo, Sir Dragon. There we go. Alright.
Bigger.
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 Bigger. Bigger.
See?
Bigger.
Why? Let me
Bigger.
go in. What the?
Bigger.
Are you
いらっしゃいませ。
serious? Oh my god.
Bigger.
Onion, asparagus.
Bigger.
Bigger.
There we go. I have now grown to 2.5 meters. I am taller now. And as you see, I like cut into the frame of the quote-unquote camera. And bald. You can barely see that I'm bald.
Did you see it?
気に入ったぜ。
The Veggie Duo! I didn't know that was I didn't realize that was a bonus.
ありがとうございました。
Can I? No, I cannot. God dang it. Alright. So I need to... Oh, do I need to go in here? Is that where I need to go? Okay. But yeah, look at my height. Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy how tall I am now? Alright, so we got a game of dots. Are you okay? My head. It's itching like a mofo. That's what happened when you don't bathe for a... He didn't bathe for a month. This man is crazy. Don't leave me hanging. Give me a witty comeback. A real zinger. I don't do that, man. So, not funny? Sorry. Comedy's not my thing. And I wasn't expecting to be put on the spot. See you later. Wait, man. I ain't talking about you. I'm saying I'm not funny. That's why I can't get any good comebacks out of people. My setups are all cow dung. You're not wrong. That's, honest of you. Anyhow, sorry to get all up in your business about it. The name's Nima Mizaka. I'm Kiryu. Listen, Kiryu-san. Me and an old buddy of mine used to be part of a knee-slapping comedy duo called the Mars Fighters. Doubt you heard of us, though. The act never got off the ground. It's a comedy style called Mainzia, where I played the funny guy and my bud, Kitagawa, was the straight man. Yeah, I never heard of you. Oh. Well, the reason I'm so down is, you see, the Grand Prix of Gags is right around the corner, but my work buddy up and quit on me the other day. Maybe the cops wheeled him off. Guy had more porn sticking up his place than every other sex shop in town. That's gross, man. That's gross. Look at this man. Look at his face. He's just like, that's gross, man. Look at him. This is the face of someone that is just absolutely done with your shit. This is the face of someone absolutely just done with you. It's Jover. So Jover. Also, I just accidentally put like a thingy-majiggy in my... I need to close that window there and then swap over to the game. There we go. Oh. Or maybe aliens beam down and mess with my brain. Probe me real good, if you know what I mean. Oh. There are jokes. Kiryu! You need to emote! It's not enough that you can just be straight-faced. It's like a bad VTuber. It's like me, VTuber. Zeeb's belly. No, don't look at my belly. Don't look at my belly. Stop looking. Stop Looking. Twist aside. Da, da, da. Oh, it's a side story. Okay, cool. I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to deal with that. True. You can't give up. Dun, 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 dun. Skip all that shit. Alrighty. So I need to talk to the bartender.
いらっしゃいませ。
おい
I heard you're the guy to ask about almonds.
ええ。
Perhaps I am interested. Maybe. What would that run me? 100,000 yen, sir. Pricey, ain't you? Good to know. Do I have your interest, sir? I'd need you to pay up
Yeah.
front. No, I think I'm alright. Thanks for the tip. Oh. God damn this game. God damn this game. God damn you.
Oi, oi!
You think it's okay to glare at any guy like that? Well, it ain't. I wasn't glaring at anyone. I saw that furrowed-ass eyebrows. Don't think you're wearing a suit's gonna get you off the hook. Calm down. You're imagining things. Oh, and now you're making fun of me, huh? Ain't gonna stand for this. Hope you're ready to get a taste of my fists. Sorry, not hungry. Knuckle sandwich time! Hope you enjoyed that. Absolutely just spinning around, destroyed by me. Idiots. Oh, hey, it's the, sideshow guys. Don't care. I thought it was an important mission. Could not care. Moving on. Moving on. A part of me is no longer in a mood for side stories tonight, which is probably not a good thing, because I know the Yakuza series is meant to be a whole side story nonsense. Is anyone gonna pipe up and correct me on this thing? Or are they all gonna just be like, yes, it's a side story thing, and you're an absolute idiot for ooh. That looked important. Equipment. Let me... here? Alright, so higher attack, less defense, but more blade resistance. Yes, please. I love having more attack damage. Also, stats. Stats. Alright, life actions. Cannot boost the thingy-majiggy yet, but that's okay. Let's break the damage limit. Let's break the heat gauge. There we go. Nice. What's up, guys? Prepare to get your ass kicked. Punch in the face. There we go. And I threw it on the ground. Threw it on the ground. Alright, over into here to get to the Mahjong parlor. And then try and get through this door. Talk to the guy again and say it won't be any more than like 1,000.
え、ほんまでっか。わかりました。
世話になったな。
ああ、待てや。桐生一馬さん。
どうして俺の名前を。
I guess we weren't supposed to know our name.
1億円になってしもたわ。
なんだと。
The hell?
懸賞金や。悪思わんといてな。その首に1億がかかっとりゃ誰でも目が血走るわな。
You may say it's not personal, but it's very personal to me. It's my head.
登場界先代の首としちゃ安いかもしれへんけど、わしらにとったら大金や。死んでもらうで。
Oh, you've done a mistake to me, putting me in this place with all this furniture. Cookie for Masonic. A lot of slipping on ice moments. There we go. Stop looking at my belly button. So rude. Sounds like you know.
やめろ。戦国組や。
あの戦国のことか。
そうや。
まあ、あとは勝手にやっとくんなあれ。寺田の香典が必要やったら声かけてくださいや。
Yeah, he's got the mahjong shit stuck to his head.
高島戦国に狙われて、あんた八方下がりやで。
どうして俺の首を。
あんたは跡目争いのゴールなんや。
俺が。
Why him? Nah. Nice.
そうか。ほな雀荘で桐生を仕留めることはできへんかったっちゅうこっちゃな。わかった。せっかくあの女デカの情報源を先取りして銭に困った情報屋連中を焚きつけたんですが。
ああ、ないな素人。桐生の首は取れん。
次の手打ちますか。
まあええんや。少しは大阪で遊ばしたれや。
せやけどこのままやったら合流会に遅れとりますぜ。
あの若者に何ができるっちゅうねん。所詮正面からドンパチやらかして無所益がええとこや。あのキリっちゅうやつ絶対にカムロ町に戻る。そうなればあの若者も後を追うはずや。その前に
Look at him showing his top front teeth. You know you can barely see me bold when like the camera cuts off, right?
この10億カムロ町にばらまいてこいや。
Maybe I do need to make like a... Maybe I need to make a webcam window. Maybe that's something I need to look into doing in the future. But I feel like if I do a webcam window, like, I can't do my whole seamless thing. I have to, like, revisit how I do camera angles and what have you. Maybe it wouldn't be the worst idea, making it so that, like, the Vignon is, like, the full size here, and then I just, like, shrink, and then I just do the camera to, like, move me all the way down to the corner. Maybe that's what needs to be done. Maybe that's the next step. I don't know how I feel about doing it, though, because, like, because then that means, like, if you do, like, the scan thingy-majiggy here, like, it's coming up from, like, the top left. And so, yeah, I don't know how well that's gonna work out. Although, to be fair, not very many people are using the time warp scan, so maybe it's, like, a inconsequential change. Or maybe I just need to, like, update my layout so it's actually more blocky, like what Izzy and Scribbly Doodle are looking to do. Man, these guys took no problem whatsoever to take on. The fuck happened here? Why must I take the long way around? Ridiculous. Annoying. Waste of my time. Oh yeah, I need to give the guy his butcher knife. Hang on. I need to give him his... Oh, hang on. Give him the knife. You said you were looking for a new knife, right? I have one for you. Wait, you actually found something? I was worried I'd never make that beef dish. I can't promise you'll like it, but here. Well, incredible! It has an aura like a fire, burning so hot that it turns blue. I'm getting tense just holding it. This is superior to anything I've held. Where did you get it, if you don't mind me asking? It might be better if you don't know. Well, alright. Thank you again. This is truly wonderful. Now I should have no problem finishing that beef dish I was planning. I'll be the first to try it. Of course! And if you're ever in trouble, I've got more produce than I can use, so count on me. Nice. No. Let's get the Wagyu beef and the veggie tamura. Actually, not the... Yeah, the veggie tamura with the miso soup. Let's go for a full stomach. Here we go. Okay, I thought that would make a combo, but I guess it doesn't. We'll figure out the combos another time. Or maybe I'll, like, Google it and I'll be given the solution. But the good news is I can now make the long trek around. Don't mind me as I am being chased. Oh, there's something in the parking lot. And once again, the game decides to do the... Alright, I need to help these. I need to help them too. We need to save them from the delinquents. Stab. And knee it even deeper into the stomach. They're gonna have a bit of a problem. Refreshment of the Sky King. Nice. Hey, look, a soccer ball. Can I kick? I can kick the soccer ball! Amazing! Oh, no, don't walk on top of it. Let's go. Yep, kick. There we go. Oh, I did. Look at me go. Bend it, like, hang on. Oh. Watch as I hit it between those two posts. Watch. I'm gonna kick it between those two posts. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Alright, that's a foul. A lot of barbecue. Is Japanese barbecue like a thing? It's now Japanese messy. I don't know if Japan does like a lot of soccer games, but I know Japan has like a whole ton of, and it does the input lag again. I am like, oh my goodness.
フォー社員で働くのはやめて、うちの店に来てくれないか？
ですが、もうフォー社員に入るって伝えちゃいましたし、今日からすぐ仕事を任されて。
では、給料はフォー社員の倍を出させてもらおう。それでどうだね？
I need to find like the right height for my
倍ですか？わかりました。フォー社員はやめて。
I need to find the right height for like resting my elbows on my chair.
いい返事だ。それではこれからよろしく頼むよ、桐谷さん。
I don't know what the Four Shrines is. Talent sniping is such a common issue in the business. Oh.
Four Shine.
They stole him right outside the club.
ここがさっ
Jesus.
きの男を引き抜かれた店か。
Oh my god, are they gonna introduce to me a system?
あなたのような凄腕の経験者に来ていただいて本当に助かりました。これからよろしくお願いしますね、桐谷さん。いや
Could not care. Seriously? They just took this from Yakuza 0 with fucking Gojo
い
Majima.
らっしゃいませ。お客様。
Oh my.
いらっしゃいませ。お客様。
Oh my god, the input lag is going to be a problem.
ようこそ。フォーシャイン。
Let me put him there.
Good. いらっしゃいませ。楽しく行こうか。盛り上がってきた。
盛り上がりましょう。
チェンジとかないんか。
お願いします。
Alright, what do you need help with? Refill ice? There we go.
失礼します。
I barely guessed that. Welcome back, Shibore. I am being stuck in doing the contractual like club manager for like this cafe for whatever reason. All right, what's her menu? Okay. All right, so glass menu. I'll figure out the next one shortly. Don't have any new members to give. Check.
お会計ですね。
Extend session.
ご延長ありがとうございます。
Nice, 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 nice. Check.
お会計ですね。 ご延長ありがとうございます。
Hopefully that worked. I don't know if it did. I don't know what the Fever. Thank you for the hello, Masonic. Kiryu is now. Oh yeah, I already read that. Ah, what am I supposed to do here? Okay, this person's time is nearly up.
お会計ですね。
They leave satisfied. Nice.
ありがとうございました。
ようこそ。当社に。
盛り上がってきたわ。また来てくださいね。了解です。いらっしゃいませ。
盛り上がってきた。
お願いします。
お会計ですね。
Gracious send off.
よろしくお願いします。また来てね。
Alright, so they're looking for love.
ようこそ。当社に。
楽しい。いらっしゃいませ。
God, she's exhausted. There must be some way I can like. Okay, apparently so she's not sexy. Alright, let's do a fever thing to try and make him happy. And then average 4. This is going to be a mini game system that I'm probably not going to engage it with after this point.
もうダメ。
お会計ですね。
Hopefully that was the right move.
また来てくださいね。
いらっしゃいませ。
よろしく頼むよ。
お会計ですね。
Extend. Ah, okay, they declined the extension.
ありがとうございました。
Ah. All right, well that was a I hope that was a good sort of earning. Our number 1 girl. Nice.
ありがとうございました。
なんとか乗り切れたな。
Crazy.
桐生さん、ありがとうございました。
The last guest just disappeared. It was the end of the night, and he was just like, oh, and turns around and just runs the fuck. He's just like, I'm out of here. I can't stand this.
だが、
It's
なか
past
なかいい店
midnight.
だと思うぜ。客もみんなこの店を気に入ってるようだしな。
ありがとうございます。
おやおや、スタッフを引き抜かれて営業できずに落ち込んでるかと思いきや、楽しそうじゃないですか。
Oh,
あい
it's
つはあの引き抜
that
きの
guy.
男。
Yeah, as it says in the subtitles.
神崎さん。
神崎。
神崎グループっていう巨大キャバクラ経営企業の会長さんです。私たちに嫌がらせや営業妨害をしているのはこの人なんです。
小雪ちゃん、まだこんなしょぼい店舗にいるのかい？早くうちに来なよ。可愛がってあげるからさ。
お断りです。
釣れないね。ま、そんなところが君の可愛いところだけどね。
神崎くん、今日は何の用？また邪魔でもしに来たのかしら。
Always stirring up
つ
trouble.
いなあ、ゆきさん。今日はね、これを持ってきたんですよ。
A bribe.
これは？
キャバクラグランプリの案内です。
A Grand Prix?
キャバクラグランプリ。
何なんだそれは。
全国からの競合キャバクラ店が集まって売り上げナンバーワンを競う
No, don't
業
look at
界
the
最大
abs.
のイベントです。
Don't
グランプリで
try
優
and
勝したお
stare
店
at the
は
abs,
宣伝
okay?
効果で
I'm
超
just a
人
bit
気店に
bigger
なると
now,
言われていま
okay?
す。
ほう、そんなものがあるのか。
ええ。ちなみに去年のチャンピオンはそこにいるキララさんが率いるお店、蒼天堀サンシャイン、神
I'm
崎
just a
グル
little
ープ
bit
最
bigger
大、
for Macro
そして
March.
日本最大の売り上げを誇るお店です。
どうも。
なんと今回は特別推薦枠としてフォーシャインが選ばれたんです。
でもフォーシャインは在籍キャバ嬢の関係で出場資格を満たしてないはず。一体どうして？
いやー、私も元同僚としてフォーシャインがこのまま潰れるのを黙って見てられなかったんですよ。そこで大会本部に掛け合いまして、今回特別に推薦枠を用意してもらったんです。ほんと感謝してもらいたい気分ですよ。
よく言うわよ。本当はフォーシャインにとどめを刺したいだけでしょ。
とどめ？
全国から強豪が集まるキャバクラグランプリに弱小のフォーシャインが参加してもボロ負けするのは確実。大会でそんな恥をさらしたら店の評判や風格はダダ落ち。ただでさえ経営難のフォーシャインがそんなことになったらもう生き残ることはできないでしょ。
そんな。
おいおいおい、ダメじゃないかキララ。こっ
Let's
ち
not
の
reveal her whole
幕
hand,
を
he says,
じゃあ
as they just be
失礼だ。
maniacal evil henchmen.
ま、せいぜい頑張ってくださいよ、フォーシャインの皆さん。それじゃ大会でお会いしましょう。
I don't like the blank Japanese stares that this game has decided to present me. Like Kiryu's blank stare, absolutely terrible. That woman's blank stare, absolutely spooky. Terrible.
ユキさん？小雪ちゃん。出よ。キャバクラグランプリ。
That's a terrible idea.
このままだと出ようと出まいとフォーシャインはもうすぐ潰れてしまうわ。もちろん勝てる見込みが薄いことは分かってる。
It's one of those cases of I know the game is rigged against me, but it's gonna be so much sweeter when I win against
私は
it.
それにかけてみたい。戦わないで負けるのも嫌だし。どうせ死ぬなら戦って死にたいじゃない？
ユキさん。
You said it, girl.
それに私は信じてるんだ、このお店を。小さいけれど他のどのお店よりもお客様を大事にできる、そんなお店が負けるわけがないじゃないってね。
そうですね。やりましょう、ユキさん。
よーし、そうと決まればあとは突き進むのみ。桐生さん、頑張りましょうね。
Oh, I guess I have to help this time.
俺もか。
お願いしますよ。乗りかかった船じゃないですか。それに桐生さん才能ありますって。
Why are you stealing my pixels? Why did you steal my pixels?
俺もいろいろとやることがあるし。
可能な範囲で構いませんからね。俺も必ずしますしメリット満載ですよね。
まったくしょうがねえな。わかったよ。
やったー、桐生さん、絶対キャバクラリーグを勝ち上がってこのお店を人気店にしましょう
Hi
ね。
Zapper, happy time zones to you too. It's in the evening for me. Like it's not late into the evening like it normally is. But I'm gonna be real with you. Ow. I'm gonna be real with you.
行きますよ。
This game has kind of brought me to my end sooner.
2、3、フォーシャイン。
That is the most negative Kiryu look I've seen yet.
桐生さんも次は
His look is just like
一緒にやってくださいね。
ああ、もしかしてとんでもねえもんを引き受けちま
that
った
was what his look was like kind of. Yeah, he's just like he's half defeated by this. Yeah, no. No thanks. Absolutely not gonna do this mini game on stream or... Oh my god, why is there... Why didn't you just take me to the exit? There we go. Probably not gonna be playing that mini game on stream, I'm gonna be real with you. Yes, it was cringe, you are correct. But yeah, oh my god, the input. I don't know what I just did.
このままやったら体が持たへんよ。
ほっといて。
なんであんたはそうやって無茶すんの？
ママが何も話してくれへんからやないか。
何べんも言うてるやんか。あんたの両親とヤクザは関係ないって。
だったら教えてよ。私の本当の親は誰なの？はあ、もうこの話はええわ。とにかく私はあの桐生一馬を追いかける。
なんでや？
あの男が登場界の人間だからよ。
登場界？
彼の身辺保護をすれば登場界に近づける。そうすれば過去に何があったか調べることができるわ。
カール、あんた。
まだ痛むか？
もうなんともないわ。
水一杯くれねえか？
I should have some water as well. God, I'm thirsty.
狭山です。あ、はい。ちょっと怪我をしまして。はい。はい、一緒です。え？あ、はい、わかりました。うちの課長から。
え？桐生だ。
府警四課の別所や。うちの狭山から捜査の話は聞いとるな。
ああ。だが俺に何の用だ？
聞いて腰抜かすなや。あんたの連れと合田会長がどこぞの連中に誘拐されよった。
なんだと？
駆けつけたうちの捜査員にあいつらマシンガンぶっ放して逃げよったそうや。
合流会か？
いや、それが外国語を喋っとったそうや。心当たりあるか？
いや。
そうか。ほんならええわ。それが知りたかっただけや。それよりさっさとカムロ町へ戻った方がええんやないか？
カムロ町に？だがこのまま大悟と会長をほっとくわけにはいかない。
The himbo camp doesn't work too well since the boobies are all the way up here.
何？
わしが言えんのはそこまでや。立場もあるしの。
わかった。
何？
恩に切る。
ええか、お前の玉四課と狭山が握ってるっちゅうのを忘れんなよ。
わかった。
ほな。
I am tall. Yes, that is true. Because of Macro March, I got taller.
カムロ町へ帰る。
え？
府警の管轄外だ。お前は残ってもいいんだぞ。
あなたの身辺保護を頼まれた以上、管轄なんてないわ。私も行くわ。
Oh.
勝手にしろ。
Hi, Ripper! Welcome to the stream. I'm a little bit taller right now because I got hyper himboed, and then they decide to try and hyper himbo me even more. Yay, we completed one chapter. But holy shit, this game, that chapter then hurt me. There was a lot of, like, micro stuttering and what have you. So it was very much like, ugh. Oh, she's not having a good time. Thank you for the hyper himbo zapper.
まだ熱が引いてないんだな。
大丈夫って言ってるでしょ。ほっといてよ。やめてよ。恥ずかしいじゃない。
うるさい。
Bigger.
ちょっとそこまで行くだけだ。
Bigger.
Bigger. Bigger. Chat, don't you want it bigger? Bigger! Oh, that's a very squeaky couch. She's not doing too good. You do no, do not eat me. Absolutely terrible. Don't you dare. 30-second timeout on Masonic on Onyx Severus, please. 30-second timeout. Oh, it's in the old bar he, you know, traversed and shit. Bigger!
Bigger!
Bigger.
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 Hey.
Bigger. Bigger.
Bigger.
Bigger. Bigger.
There we go. As you can see, I am out of frame. Alrighty. Where am I going? Knife, knife, knife. Long knife, special baton. Wooden thing. Tonfa. There we go. So yeah, 2.7 meters now. I'm pretty sure this is 2.7 meters. I'm pretty sure I got the math right here. Cause I was 2.4 at first. Ripper, you might need to help me with the math here, okay? So I was 2.4 first. So we times that by 1.1, which makes me 2. Which should have made me, so when I last checked, it made me 2.53, and then you times by 1.1 again, which makes me 2.78. Does that sound right? Like, mathematics-wise? Hopefully it does. Alright, save that in the first slot. So yeah, I'm gonna be real with you. I want to end the stream there. I'm gonna Alt F4 that game. Holy shit. It had a few more micro-stuttery moments than I would have liked. 2.4 times 1 and 1 times again? Yes. So that would be 2.4 times 1.1 to the power of 2. So it should be something like that. You think that's 2.9? Are you sure? Maybe it's rounding, Did I do my math incorrectly? Hang on a second. Actions. So I start at 2.3 times by give me a second. So increases the macro march. Macro march 2.3 times by the math. Oh, maybe I fucked it up. Maybe I fucked up the math incorrectly where I've gone 2.4 1.1 to the power of 2. Maybe I accidentally did it like that. So if I get the calculator out, so I do 1.1 to the power of 2, that makes it 1.21, and then times that by 2.4. Oh wait, no, it gives me 2.904. Oh, wait, hang on. I read. What's 7 feet in meters? 7 feet in meters. 2.13. Oh, I'm even more off. I have done my math wrong for so long. I thought I was 2.3 meters. I'm 2.1. I am such an idiot. 2.1. Save and compile. 2.1. 2.1. Save and compile. Delta. Okay. Current session. Dunk. 2.1. 2.1. Alright, so 2.1 times by 1.1 to the power of 2, 2.5. Okay, so I might have messed up the numbers a little bit, but that's okay. This is only the second stream. Let's not focus on who did the math wrong. Let's just focus on the fact that I'm bigger. That's how it is. Could be an order of operations thing. I thought so too. Like, actually, hang on. Let's see. So 2.1 times, or back when I did, okay, so 2.3 was what I had originally, times by 1.1 to the power of 2. No, so I wouldn't have made that. So 2.3 times by 1.1 to the power of 2, 2.783. Okay, so because I was 1 decimal point off with the calculation I gave you, because I wasn't 2.4, I was 2.3 in the math, and I told you 2.4, which was a mistake. And both those numbers are incorrect because 7 feet is 2.1 meters. So, for context, the zebra is normally like 7 meters tall, and in actuality, he is in like my ref sheets and shit, my zebra is 7 feet tall, which I thought was 2.3 meters. That is not true. 7 feet is 2.1 meters. So, yeah. Oops. My mistake. Well, technically speaking, it's 2.13, so maybe, so 2.13. You know what? Let me add in that, because you know what? Some people might care about that 3 centimeters. Some people might care about the 3 centimeters that goes off there. Dung. 2.13. 2.13. Save and compile. Execute code 2.13. There we go. Alrighty then. Let's not focus on blaming anyone. Let's focus on the fact that it's fixed. Thank you, Ripper. Thank you, Ripper. You know exactly how to go through this. Let me give you a shout out. Thank you so much for joining in and, you know, not making me look bad. Hopefully you had a wonderful time in Station Ears. Alright. I am going to call it... I'm going to call it for tonight, and we're going to go for a bit of a raid. Now, Ripper isn't streaming right now, as far as I know. You're not streaming right now, are you? No, you're not. Alright, but let's see. Puffin is streaming right now, and it's Puffin's birthday. We're gonna... Yes, it's Puffin's birthday, alright. We are going to go raid into Puffin. So, raid Mix Puffin. Happy B-Day. I was gonna be like, Happy B-Day, bitch, but I don't think that would be appreciated. Happy B-Day and in Macro March. That is gonna be our raid message. Happy B-Day and in Macro March is gonna be our raid message for Mix Puffin as they're going through some Lethal Company. I was about to say Lethal Company 2, but they haven't made a sequel yet. So yeah, so we're gonna go raid into Mix Puffin. I will be back online Friday night. I won't be this big when it gets to Friday night though, so don't you worry. I'm not gonna have my head like sticking out like through the screen and what have you. I will come up with incentives for Whatsamahoozy for the macro March, I might make like a quick code to make it so that gift subs, like if you do 1 or more gift subs, then it will go through the command however many iterations or what have you. Otherwise, I want to say thank you everyone who came along to tonight's stream. I know it was short, but I greatly appreciate those of you who came along. I hope you'll join with me as we wish McSpuffin a happy birthday, and I'll see you all hopefully next time. Bye for now.